Okay, I'm going to cover creating a national park app with the um, with Xcode. The version of Xcode I'm using is the 9.2. I think some of the problems we have, of course, in the classroom is that they have 9.1, and when I go from my laptop into the room, we had to make some adjustments to make it work, and hopefully we can um, make that process a little smoother next time as we go forward. But for right now, this is what we have. This is what I have and what I've built. I sent you some information about maybe making the buttons a little bit different. I just added some color and made sure all the pictures were the same size. So let me cover that, and then we'll cover how to do the programming and things like that. So again, this is kind of a national park app. It says Pinnacles National Park here. When you click on the button, it goes to another screen that pulls data from the internet. Again, this is a web window. It's kind of called a web window. It's basically putting an area in the app that you can pull any data from, almost like using an iframe when you're doing HTML programming. It's a very similar concept. In addition, it puts the navigation bar automatically up here to go back to the screen that we were at. So it takes the name right here. It says Pinnacle National Park, clicks on that and puts it in here, and gives you a segue back to the main menu. So it's a very simple kind of looking app, and it is. And then in addition, instead of all going to web pages, this one actually goes, the last one here goes to a map, Google Maps. And so you can see it goes to Google Maps, and it's a little zoomed in, of course, just because of the way Google Maps is, but I think you could zoom out in the link. You could make it a little bit different, better, is what I'm trying to say. So how did I make this? This is what I'm going to cover right now. Of course, the first thing I'm going to cover is how to make the pictures all the same size. Again, if you look at this app, I have a photo for each section, and then in each section, I thought I made it 100 by 100 pixels. I think I designated it 100 by 100 pixels, but when I saved the image, I saved it 200 by 200 pixels. I don't think it really matters as far as right now, as far as pixel size. What's more important is the ratio, and this is kind of a 1-to-1 ratio. It's a square, basically. And so let me quit the simulator here, and let's go back. So you can download a starting example. I have an example that I started with completing chapter 29 in the book. I know 29 it was a little hard, I know. It took me a couple times to get it to work, but again, if you look at the starting file here, number 29, chapter 29, you'll notice it's kind of similar to what you saw there. You have images and links, and when you click on there, it goes to a web page. Maybe I haven't completed that yet. Oh, so maybe we haven't completed that yet. Of course, it's not completed. It's just it's the menu. So again, chapter 30 will complete this. So again, it's a table view. The problem with this example, of course, the images are horrible and they're all different sizes. So let's make it better. To do that, I'm going to go, of course, to the internet. And let me start with a new window. And to get the pictures of Pinnacles National Park, I just went to Google and I typed in Pinnacles National Park, and I searched by images. And once I found the images I thought would work well, you can click on them. It'll go to a higher quality version is what I'm trying to do. I guess it's downloading. There you go. So you have a nice high quality version of the picture. You can right click on it and say copy image. This is probably the fastest way to get it into Photoshop. So once you have an image, you can copy image here on it. Go to Photoshop, and in Photoshop, if you say File New, it'll recognize what you copied, the size of the image that you copied, and then you can hit OK. Once you hit OK, it gives you a blank screen and you have to paste your image in there. Again, you can go underneath either Edit, Paste, or hit Control or Command V on the keyboard and it'll paste it. So here we are. We have a nice image of Pinnacles National Park. How do I make this square inside of Photoshop? In Photoshop, you have a crop tool. It's the fifth one down. If I type in, I can actually just type in 1 to 1 here, and it gives me a square. So you put in 1, 1, it gives me a square. Once I put my 1 and 1 into the crop, you'll notice it gives you a box on the screen of square. You can crop it to the way you want it if you wanted a little bit different look. You can move the window around. Once you have the window the way you want it, you could just click the move tool right here and it'll then say, hey, do you want to crop? You could say, yes, I want to crop. So now I have an image, but still it's really big, and what I mean by big is that it's still super high quality and it's going to be a very large file to save it. As you can see down here, it's 31.2 megabytes, which is a very large file. So in order to make it smaller so it will program easier and make it a smaller size, we go under image size, and I'm just going to type in 200 by 200 in pixels. So under image size, you can type in the type of dimension. Now it's going to be 117 kilobytes, which is a lot smaller. And if you hit OK, it looks tiny, but again, you're inside Photoshop, you're looking at a zoom factor of 33.3%. If you hit the command plus to zoom in and you see it at 100% right here, this is the size it will be in my app. Which looks kind of tiny here, but once you get it into the app, it'll be a little bit larger. It's still, not too bad a image quality. I mean, it doesn't look great, but again, it's small. We're just practicing programming. You can make it almost any size you want. You don't have to make it 200 by 200. I gave you some examples of menus that have photos in the background. You might want to try, a photo button, the whole button being an image with the label over top of it. That might be very interesting to do also. I don't know, you're just going to have to do that, but that's sort of what I did here. And then I saved it as a JPEG, so go under File, Save As, and then I go to my folder where I'm saving my files. I think I have a file somewhere here. Let's see, on my desktop, I have photos. I have a sample somewhere. And then notice how I called it Pinnacles 1, Pinnacles 2, JPEG, Pinnacles 3, Pinnacles 4, and so on. And so I just saved it there as a JPEG. Make sure you change it to JPEG format down here, so it's a JPEG that comes into Xcode just fine. Okay, so save all those, get yourself a variety of pictures, and that's how you can crop them and make them proper for Xcode. Next thing I did was I went into Xcode and I'm going to adjust some of them. So again, I'm starting with the starting template that I gave you from chapter 29. First thing I'm going to do is just bring in those pictures. Again, right now we have the Buckingham Palace, Eiffel Tower and stuff. To bring in the images that I just saved out of Photoshop for this example, I can go into the Assets folder right here. Once you go to the Assets, I can right-click in this window right here where the other pictures are and say Import. Then I can import those Pinnacle pictures and bring them all in. You can import them all at the same time using the Shift key to select them all. So once they're in, then I can just change my example here. All you have to do is, well, before we do that, let's talk about going back to the graphic itself and altering it. Because right now, when we did the test, it was kind of a white background with a picture and a black label with a white background. I'm going to make it, if you saw my example, it was kind of a blue background and white text. And so I kind of altered the storyboard a little bit before I continued. The other thing I did was I made the pictures all square, because right now this image viewer that you see right here is the wrong size for a square picture. So all I did was come over here and I grabbed the bottom and I kind of dragged it down, and then to about, it was making it 100 by 100 pixels. So again, what I did was I took the image area that I had and I made it square. And then under the mode over here, under the attributes, I changed it to aspect fill. I believe that's what I did, aspect fill. In doing so, it'll take the image and fill it in that square. So that's all I really did to make the picture square. I changed the size of the box and said aspect fill here. Next, I selected the actual table view itself. Let me click around. It's sometimes hard to select what you want. Let me see how I did that. I selected the table up here. I think I selected it. Clicked up here, and I swear I changed the color to blue. Maybe it was here I selected. And then I went into, again, I selected the whole table view right here. And in the attributes, so you can see a little dot right here. I selected it, and I went to where the background is, and I changed it to a background color. So you can change it to whatever background color if you want to have. And if you don't like any of the colors in the list here, you can always go to Other at the bottom. And so maybe since this is Pinnacles, we want to have a nice kind of brownish look to the background. I'm going to do kind of a dark color. Oof, that's pretty ugly. Let's not go that ugly. Nice brown color. Then I changed the label color itself. So I grabbed the label, and instead of the label being black text, I changed the color here. So after I select the label, again under the attributes, you can change the color, and I just made it white. So the next step would then go and change the programming. So instead of using the Buckingham Palace images and the links to all that stuff, I'm going to go and change it all to my own. So how do I do that? That's in the attraction table view Swift file right here. And again, in chapter 29, we went and programmed all of this. But of course, the images are not going to be Buckingham Palace. They're all going to be Pinnacles. Oops, lowercase p. Remember, spelling is important. I think I called it Pinnacles 1. Let me make sure. I'm going to go back to my assets. ACLES 1, yep. Pinnacles 1, and so on and so on. So change each of the text that you have inside of the programming of this Swift to your own images. That makes it a lot nicer to do your own example. And so I have that, and so I got my pictures in there. Of course, I'm going to go through and change all the links to the links I want it to go, and of course I'm going to change the names to the names that I want it to be. I think this was Plan Your Visit, and so on. So I'm not going to go over all of those. You don't have to sit there and watch. Oops, what I just did there. But so I'm not going to sit there. But if you look at what you have now, if I preview it now, you should see that I have, of course, my own links. Oh, my pictures aren't showing up. I must have done something wrong. Maybe I spelled it wrong. I think that's probably what I just did. I spelled it wrong. Yeah. Let's go back to the assets. PINNACLES 1. Pinnacles with an S. PINNCALES 1. JPEG. Don't know. Yeah, again, I did spell the names wrong. That's why they didn't show up. But if we test it again, the pictures should show up. And so you can see them. They don't quite fit in there. What did I have to do to make this work last time? I did give it a constraint. I think that's what I did in the sample that I made. So you might have to go back to the storyboard here and take the box, and I think what I did was I went to maybe update frames. No, that goes back to where it should be. Yeah, I didn't want to do that. Let's add some constraints maybe. turn off nearest neighbor. So I'm going to add constraints on all sides, and then make the width 100 by 100. So I'm going to add all those constraints. I know it has a bunch of red lines. Yeah, see, that didn't seem like it's going to work right. And let's see, let's update this frame. Okay. Let me try and test again. That's a little better. At least they're 100 by 100. They kind of take up the whole frame, but hell, that looks a lot better. So again, add some constraints. You might have to go and try them, and then we'll continue from there. Okay, I get it. When I do a little test, when I do the simulation, it gives me some error messages. Most likely I have way too many constraints attached to my picture, and it just disappeared on me. Okay, I'm going to continue. It seems to finish here. So I'm going to continue with chapter 30 in the book. So if you look at the book, the main purpose of it is to add a controller, a navigation or controller to the file. So right now, if you look at it, we only have one controller right now. It's making a table menu. So we need to add a navigational controller, and then another scene, which will have a web. And so I'm going to quickly go over that, just so that you get the idea of how to add that. So the first thing they want you to do is add a new scene for the web link. So they're going to go under File, New, File. We're going to add a Coca Touch class. It's going to be a view controller, a UI view controller, and again, this is going to be detail, attraction, detail, view controller. So again, this is going to be a window that when the person pushes the button, will go to a new scene which will have the web link in it. So again, it's a UI view controller, and the name is called Attraction Detail View Controller. It's a Swift file, and say next. It's going to ask you where you want to save it. Save it in the same folder, and there you go. So you have a Swift file for a new window. Okay. Again, we're going to go back to the main storyboard file, and you're going to add a view controller to the scene. Once you have the new view controller, you're going to have the identity inspector, which is the little square up here, and we're going to change the name here to the attraction detail view controller right there. Again, add the new view controller. This is the box up here, and it'll be the attraction detail view controller. So again, we applied a Swift file to this file. Next is to add that navigation or controller. To do that, it's under the editor, edit. It's under, let me see, I think you may need to select something first. So again, we're going to select, so let me zoom in a little bit here. It won't let me zoom in. There we go, double click. Just make sure it's selected, it's in blue. Then we're going to go underneath the editor. Embed in, and we're going to say navigation controller, and it'll give us a box. It's called a navigational controller box inside there. So you should have 3 boxes now. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 3 boxes. Next, you're gonna establish a segue from this one to this one. So let me pause and try. The next step is to add a segue between this prototype cell and the new scene that we, new detail view controller that we made, the new scene. So I'm going to control click here, or right click in this case, and click on here, and then we're going to have you're going to choose show from the new segue, and notice it puts a box at the top up here. So next is, I'm going to move this around just a little bit so we can see. We want to click on the segue itself right here, and we're going to go into the utilities show attributes inspector, which is this one right here. The attributes is the little line, and in the attributes we need to change the identifier, which is to be show attraction details. Next, they want us to double click, so I'll hit tab to make sure it takes place. And then they want us to double click inside here and type in the word attractions. Let me pause that. So a option at the top of the table view controller should show up. You can't see it. You just have to kind of click right in the middle here. And this is where you're going to put the name of your national park. In this case, I'm going to put Pinnacles National Park. Again, it was up here. It allows you to type in right there. So again, this is in the table view. So it puts it in there, and then over here there should be a way to put a details text over here. Let me pause this until I find. So the next step is to drag a navigational item. You can type it in down here in the options down here, and you're going to drag it into the into this window here where the detail window is, and it'll put a title at the top, and you can title that if you want. This is, of course, is going to be details. Again, it was called navigational item. This is kind of the back arrow that goes back to the main menu. So you drag it into this scene, the detail scene here. Okay, so again, you should still have 3 boxes. So again, the details one, and then the table view one. Next, we need to modify some of the programming that is on page 215. Let me pause this. So we're going to go to the, and I'm going to bring my pieces back over here. We're going to go to the details view controller. This is the one we made. This is the Swift file that we made at the beginning of chapter 30. And we're going to add a string at the top. And this string will be a variable web site. This is going to be a place to store the website, and then it's going to be string with a question mark. That's at the bottom of page 215. Next step is we need to add a web controller. So again, just add a variable here at the top of the detail view controller. I'm going to go back to the storyboard. Next, we need to find a web interface here. Just like you put an image in there, right? You need to put an image. We're going to be putting a web. So I'm going to type in the word web. It's called a web view. And we're going to drag it into the attractions detail scene here. We're going to drag it in here. And then you want it to fill the screen. Oh, did it work? It didn't seem to work. Let's try again. No? I think you have to be zoomed in to be able to do that. There we go. So make sure you're zoomed in. Once you put that in, again, we're going to scale it. So I'm going to scale it to all sides. Scale it so it takes up the entire screen. Then add some constraints. The constraints will be the same all the way around. So you're basically going to go to the pinning option, turn off the constraint to margin, and put pins all the way around on all four sides, and the spacing is nearest neighbors turned off there, and then hit add four constraints. Again, that will make it all the way around. So we have a view controller now, web view controller in the details section. And then of course there's some code that you need to add. I'm not going to go through and type all that for you. Just finish all of the code that is there on page 216 and 217. Make sure you put it in the correct attraction table view controller, so it's not in this one, it's in the code that they're talking about goes in here towards the bottom down here. And if you look at the final product that I have again, which is this one, again you'll run into the problem of it not being able to do the non-secure web page. So again, what I had to do was I went to my folder of where my file project is, and I go into the info list, and I think I sent the code to you in a Word document. Let me open that up and I'll show you the code. Again, I sent you this Word document. So what you need to do is the code that I sent you right here, you need to copy this code that is here and put it into the XML file that is located in the folder to be able to let you go to an unsecure web page. So again, follow the directions. You're going to open up the info file right here. Don't open it in Xcode. Open it in another program. Let's say we open it in, again, a text editor, whatever, one of the text edit comes on a Mac. And at the very top up here, let's put a little bit of space at the top up here. Move it over so it's nice and organized here, and I'm going to paste that code up there. Okay, so by putting this code that I've sent you at the top, it'll allow you to go to an unsecure website and then save it. After you put that code at the top, it should not give you that error message that it was giving me before. And so again, once you run your sample, it should then go to, you can click on your link and it should open up the page, and there should be a back button. Now with the older version of Xcode, it looked like it put just the word back up here. This version that I have, 9.5, puts the name of the file up here, so I'm not sure if they altered the way that they do it. But again, if you click on it, it should go to the page and it should have a back button. So try and make your own version. Try and make a nice menu. Try working with the different menu options, and bring me a sample and show me in class.